not talk Heisman Trophy. We can't not bring up these various guys and stuff. And of course, Caleb Williams is your favorite at plus 450. Yep. As we wake up this morning, Jaden Daniels has moved all the way to your second shot here over at DraftKings at 11-1. Quinn Ewers 13, Clay Kubnik 14, et cetera, et cetera. When we look, I mean, this is one of the things where it's a little tough for us as handicappers and bettors, right? This is still a voted on thing, right? I mean, this is still an opinion thing. Are they going to give it to the same guy twice in a row? These are all things we have to weigh in our minds when we go about betting all of this. How have you kind of looked at the Heisman Trophy market, and is there anybody that you're a little bit higher on than everybody else?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And, the past week or so, basically there's a formula out there, and with everything, Matt, there's always outliers. Devontae Smith winning the Heisman Trophy in 2020. Lamar Jackson's team finished, I think Louisville finished 15th that year. But by the end of the day, as I looked at it, Matt, and I tweeted this out a couple days ago. Essentially, you're looking for a quarterback and a playoff contending team, and that's how it's going to come down to. Now, you could argue, hey, well, USC didn't make the playoff last year. Yeah, but they were number 4 in the country going into the Pac-12 championship game. And remember, C.J. Stroud didn't make the Big Ten championship game, and Bryce Young didn't make the SEC championship game. So there was really no other option other than Caleb Williams. There's going to be circumstances. I mentioned the Lamar Jackson back in 2015, Matt, where he pretty much locked that thing up when Louisville was making this, remarkable run, and they got as high as number 3 in the country. But looking back since 2000, you've had 18 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, and 1 wide receiver. So, Marvin Harrison Jr., Matt, is really an intriguing option because, we don't know who's going to start at quarterback right now for Ohio State. Devin Brown is thought to be a guy that, could ultimately take that job from Kyle McCord. If you read the quotes coming out of Columbus, it sounds like it's a split. So I understand the intrigue for Marvin Harrison Jr., but, for me, Matt, if we're looking at a wide receiver, I'm going to need much more than 20-1, considering we've had 1 wide receiver win this award this century, and that was Devontae Smith, who, every time we looked, he was scoring a touchdown there for Alabama. So, there's a couple guys that have made some really big rises, and I agree with that movement. I'll start with Cade Klubnik. Cade Klubnik, look, Clemson has never won a Heisman Trophy. Deshaun Watson didn't win it. Trevor Lawrence didn't win it. They've had some big-name quarterbacks, and they never gotten there. But this is a market, that has gone from 25-1 to as low as 10-1 at some shops regarding Cade Klubnik. Why? Well, let's go through it. This is a team that certainly can make the playoff. This is a team that has really high-profile games, Matt. When you think about September 23rd, they get to host Florida State. November 4th, they get to host Notre Dame. The ACC championship game, which no more conferences or divisions, they likely will play Florida State again. Get to play Drake May. Where do they play Drake May? They play them at home. So you get a new offensive coordinator and Garrett Riley coming over from TCU, help Max Duggan get all the way to the Heisman ceremony there in New York City, and you got a 5-star recruit. So, when you're thinking about who fits the characteristics, who has the right ingredients, I think someone like Cade Klubnik certainly is where to look, and that's why the market has kind of gone bonkers on Cade Klubnik, moving from 25 down to 14, 12, 10-1.
The betting market, as far as like who's actually going to win the whole thing, was in love with 4 teams for the longest time, and then people started putting some money in on LSU as well. Georgia 220, yep. Alabama 6-1, Ohio State 7-1, Michigan 8-1. Now we see LSU as low as 11-1, and then with kind of a jump there to USC at 15, Clemson at 18. Do you kind of still look at it as a big 4, or are you including, as you're looking at the big picture here, are you including an LSU? Are you including a USC, or maybe even a Clemson or Florida State, whatever it might be? Or do you still kind of look at that Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan as the big 4 and everybody else?
I kind of think those are the big 4 that will win it, but I do think you can get creative with a playoff team, because that's what we've seen. We saw TCU last year get in, kind of out of nowhere. We've seen Cincinnati get in recent years. So I think, if you're looking for a team that, could make the run, Penn State has got a lot of hype. Now, obviously, they have to take care of business against Ohio State or Michigan and win at least one of those games. And if it comes down to a tiebreaker, or if they're sitting at 11-1, Matt, maybe Penn State can sneak into the party, because I really like this Penn State team. But obviously they play in the Big Ten East, where you've got the big boys of Ohio State and Michigan there. A team that, let's hold on to our butts on this one. A team that's got a lot of talent, man. And we've said it a million times before. This will be the 1,000,001st, Matt. Texas, they're really talented. Yeah. They've got a ton of wide receivers. They've got over 100 career starts on the offensive line. Quinn Ewers, year number 2, he lost the mullet, so he's now focused. No more mullet discussion. I really like Texas. And obviously, week 2, they get a chance to go to Tuscaloosa and to really make some noise there with the Longhorns. I personally have bet the Longhorns to win the Big 12, which I'm sure will certainly come back and bite me in the rear end, because they haven't won that conference since 2009, Matt. But those are two teams that I think certainly could make it to the college football playoff this year, based off of talent. But for me, it's still hard to just kind of overcome in this playoff era, Matt, from what we've seen, seeing a, quote, Cinderella win the national championship. TCU's I guess as close as we've got, and they went out and lost by 58 points in the national championship game. So, look, Alabama has a lot of questions. Ohio State, who's their starting quarterback? Michigan made it there the last 2 years, but is this a team ready to make that next jump? I do think Michigan's pretty darn good, and their schedule makes out to be just a piece of cake, really, all the way until late November, when they play Ohio State and Penn State in 2 of their last 3 games. But I think winning the national championship, I'm still kind of just at that mindset until somebody proves that they can win it outside of the SEC or basically Ohio State. But I do think, as we've said for years, Matt, you can really find some creative ways and not going too outlandish of finding a playoff team. And obviously, DraftKings has it. There are markets out there you could play to make the playoff field.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.